Welcome back to Cocktails with the Queens. Before we went to break, we talked about punk-ass Ron DeSantis in Florida, the governor who barely won the election. And once he got in, he's trying to turn Florida into the 1860s and erase Blackness. He's got this Stop Woke Act, which many people are calling the Stop Black Act. He's using the term woke is code for all things that us Black Americans complain about. Selena, before we went to break, I said you'd be up next. What do you have to say about this? And what do you think about this?
You know, I'm just going to piggyback off what you just said, Claudia. It's giving colonizer. It's giving, I don't want, first of all, the reparations situation that is happening in California is fantastic. And what racist white people are afraid of is the domino effect. So if we start educating Black people on how fantastic and amazing they are, then their self-esteem will, propel them to be great in the community, which could possibly make them greater than the colonizers. Also, you don't want us to know what you've done. You don't want anyone to know, but I'll tell you, the education of us is what's going to bring us closer together. It's the empathy that is lacked in our country that we're not able to have to understand each other. So you're actually going backwards. You're doing a disservice. Because actually, there are white people that want to know. There are white people that want to be educated, that want to fall in line. And you know what? Reparations should trickle down. It should be a domino effect. And so should African-American studies in all schools, Black and white. And they just really don't want us to know. It's just like slavery, how they didn't want us to know anything because information is power. And that's one thing that they hold on to, power.
I agree with all you ladies' points. I cannot stand Ron DeSantis. I think he's one of the biggest dangers and threats to America because he's got a lot of people buying into this. Florida's like, the third largest state with population? He's got some people that kind of rock with him. And when they compare him to Trump, they think he's kind of Trump-like, but I think he may be a little bit more dangerous. He's trying things in Florida that I think he would implement on a national level. And why would you want to stop an elective course to learn about African history, African-American history? How does it hurt you, Ron DeSantis? How does it hurt you? You are so threatened by Blackness. It was very obvious when you campaigned against Andrew Gillum down in Florida, who you only beat by about 45,000 votes, be very clear. You barely won against him. And it seems like he has a really big chip on his shoulder against all things ethnic and Black. And it's like, where does this hatred come from? And I can't just be mad at Ron DeSantis. I'm mad at the people of Florida, the citizens of Florida that elect this jackass and support him. And you see what he's doing. And I mean, y'all Latino brothers and sisters who sometimes like to side with us when it's convenient for y'all. And then sometimes could be nothing further from Black. You like, oh, I'm not with them. Do you want to have proximity to whiteness? Don't you know that you're next after us? You're next. It's going to be African-American studies first. It's going to be Latino studies and your history next. Be very clear. Don't think you got to pass because right now he's down with y'all because he needs your votes. It's very frustrating to see that people just line up for his nonsense, knowing the kind of man he is and what he would do if given the opportunity to be president.
And they be already building walls like they are part of us anyway. You got the Indians that got color, you got the Latinos, the Spanish that got color. So they're not just gonna stop at us. It's gonna spill over to them, and that's when they're
already building walls. So what are we even discussing here? They blatantly say they don't want you anyway. They're building walls against you coming into the country.
And so Black people, if you don't like this nonsense that's going on, what they're trying to do with the schools, you got to show up at their school board meetings. You got to be electing your mayors. You got to care. You can't just care about the glamorous races. You can't just do president, senator, vice president. You can't.
But you know what? Don't worry about it, because guess what? Our children are very smart. The younger generation is very intelligent. And actually, I love that he's doing this because now it's going to make everybody go, oh, well, what are you hiding? And then they're going to go search for African-American studies. And then they're going to educate themselves, and they're going to be more educated than they would if it was an elective. So actually, what's meant for bad always happens good. Always. God makes for good every time. Listen.
I cannot. He's like my least favorite of all the governors. Him and our raggedy Abbott over here. Ugh. Two worst governors in the country. And the way they put people on planes and ship them to other cities had nothing to do with Florida.
Classless.
Yeah.